It will not take too long until Venti makes his reappearance in the upcoming patch. I can imagine a lot of you are excited for getting Venti or his Constellations, while others might stick to an alternative character like Sucrose. Both Sucrose and Venti excel at supporting your team, and in case you can't decide who to go for, I am going to explain their differences so you can decide which character is more suitable for your playstyle. In this video, I will be discussing their CC potential, their damage mechanics, who the best battery is, their constellations, and how investment friendly they are considering their best artifact sets and weapons. I hope I can help you decide which support to use, so let's find out. Notice that my Diluc misses his attacks during both Venti's and Sucrose bursts. This is one of the main flaws of these characters, so be sure to time your attack during their burst. As far as crowd control goes, Venti burst seems to do a better job at grouping the mobs at one position and keep them grouped even just after the burst ends. During and after Sucrose's burst, the enemies were a lot more spread out, which makes it a lot harder to hit all enemies at the same time. In addition, when using Venti together with Xiao, keep in mind that during Venti's burst, it's possible that Xiao misses his attack as enemies are lifted upwards. In the previous 3 clips I showcased Venti and Sucrose against the Cryo Regis Vine with the Vaporized team comp. In case with Venti, my Diluc was not able to proc Vaporize at all when Venti's burst was imbued with pyro. On the other hand, I managed to proc some Vaporize reactions with my Diluc when Venti's burst was imbued with hydro. However, it was difficult to do it consistently, and besides, since Venti's burst was imbued with hydro, my Diluc does not benefit from the 4-piece Verdicent bonus, which lowers the enemy resistance to the element infused. In the third case with Sucrose, I was able to apply Vaporize consistently, making use of the benefit from Verdicent's 4-piece bonus and increase the elemental mastery for my Diluc because of Sucrose's passive talent. You would find a similar result with melt reactions. Now keep in mind that this comparison was made with Diluc specifically. With the main DPS like Ganyu, you are probably more likely to trigger melt reactions consistently as there is a high interval between her shots. So when we compare the time required to charge up Zhao's burst, Venti was around 8 seconds faster, which is almost equal to the time of one elemental skill of Venti. In addition, if you want to use a battery comp for example for your Zhao, then Venti is the better choice between these two, as he is not only able to recharge Zhao's burst faster, but also provide more damage. Sucrose relies on giving other party members elemental mastery, which is not ideal for an NMO main DPS like Zhao. The fourth point we have to discuss are their constellations. So when we look at their constellations, for instance for Venti's, then there are two constellations that we need to keep an eye on. It's his second constellation, which provides an NMO resistance debuff on enemies. This constellation is great if you want to use Venti with another NMO main DPS such as Zhao. And the other constellation is his sixth constellation, which increases his damage from his burst. Now we have to remember that Venti is a 6-star unit, so getting him to C2 or C6 will require a high investment, and this may or may not be worth it depending on your situation. So if we go and have a look at Sucrose constellation, then we have to keep in mind that Sucrose is a 4-star unit, so her constellations we are able to get very easily, and especially her first and her second constellations are of interest. Her first constellation provides an extra charge for her elemental skill, which is really nice, and her sixth constellation provides a damage bonus to your main DPS. We have reached the last and final point for this video, which are the artifacts and weapons. As far as the weapons go, Venti's best in slot weapons as a support are the Skyward Harp for the 5 stars and the following 4-star bows on the screen. They are all a very solid choice for a support DPS build. The Sacrificial Bow is more suited when used in a battery comp with Zhao for example, while the Favonius Wallbow is more for general purpose and for spamming your burst. The Stringless would be my least favorite 4-star weapon in the list, as its main stat is Elemental Mastery, and Elemental Mastery is not that great on Venti. I made a video on why Elemental Mastery is not good on Venti, and link is in the description in case you are interested. Notice all the weapons are only obtainable through the gacha. Unlike Venti, Sucrose can use the free-to-play map Mare, which is a 4-star catalyst and best for Sucrose besides the sacrificial fragments. So weapon-wise, both Venti and Sucrose, there are a lot of viable weapons to choose from, and there's a high chance that you have at least one of these mentioned weapons for both of them. And as artifacts goes, both Sucrose and Venti share the same artifact set, which is a 4-piece Viridescent set. If you have been farming the Viridescent domain for Zhao, Sucrose or Jean, then it's very likely you already have some nice artifacts for Venti, which is a good reason to pull for Venti. To conclude this video, Venti and Sucrose are both amazing supports and are very different due to their unique skill set. Venti is great at crowd controlling enemies and functioning as a battery for your main NMO DPS. He can spam his burst often, and because energy recharge is a high priority stat for Venti. Venti lacks the ability to proc the elemental reactions that you want, and it's difficult to hit enemies inside his burst, especially with normal attacks. However, this depends on the team comp and there are ways to play around it. Sucrose is great in comps that focus around elemental reactions, especially Vaporize and Melt. Because she stacks so well with Elemental Mastery, you don't need any attack rate stats on your artifacts, which also implies she requires low investment. She is not great at a battery compared to Venti, nor is her crowd control as good as Venti's. Her individual DPS lags, while Venti can still dish out some decent amount of damage on his own. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. See you in the next video.